Well, thanks for joining us. A lot of talk about changes in supply chains and shifts there. What are the companies that you're in touch with? What are they doing? How are they adapting their export policies and their policies generally to the very complex geopolitical situation?
Yeah, our companies, they see much more insecurity now at the moment than they have been used to in the past. And they have to adapt one way or the other. And with regard to the rising tariff environment which they see, they try to, of course, stick to their customers. They try to stick to their supply chains. But of course, they have also to do a risk analysis, which means that we see that as far as possible, they also try to diversify with regard to their suppliers, and they try to stick to their customers and arrange to the new situation.
What other complexities are facing supply chain shifts? Because it's not always easy to diversify supply chains. There are regulatory hurdles, there are transportation and logistics. What are some of the challenges?
In many cases, large companies have it a little bit easier than small ones. The SMEs, for them, it's a bigger challenge. Of course, if you have a long-standing relationship with your supplier, it's not easy to change it from one day to the other. You would not like to do that. So first of all, you start to talk with your customer, with your supplier. How can we handle the new situation? And maybe your supplier can help you, and that's, I think, a lot of these kind of talks have been going on for the last couple of years, and they are continuing. So, and in order to see a broader picture of the supply landscape, for example, in Asia, to diversify a little bit more, but stay in Asia. And the same is true with Europe and the United States.
What about China, which is key to this? The China-US relationships is central to some of the trade tensions globally. It's obviously gone beyond that. But how are German companies dealing with China? What is their approach to China? And do they see it as an opportunity?
China has grown into a position of being one of the large trading partners of Germany, especially over the last decades. Today, it's the second largest trading partner of Germany. And it has not only been a growing and huge market to sell German technology, it's also growing into it has been growing into an innovation hub, where it is very important for German companies to be part of that and to partner also with Chinese companies. And that means that many companies are looking into some kind of localization or intensify the localization to be part of that. And localization can also be part of a strategy to de-risk a little bit, these companies. For German companies, the European market is very important, the US market is very important. The China market and the Asian market has become extremely important over the last decades. And of course, given this geopolitical tensions which we have, these geopolitical problems, there is a tendency to try to separate a little bit these three markets, to localize more, and in order to be in a better position to handle these different tasks.
That's interesting. So China's attractive not just because it's a big market and a big trading partner, because of the culture of innovation. Yeah, and German companies are looking to invest more in China?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to partner with some Chinese partners, then of course you have to increase your foot on the ground, and they are investing more.
And you'll see more of that over the next 2 to 3 years, you believe?
We would expect more of that coming over the next years, yeah.
Finally, your general outlook for trade. WTO has lowered its forecast for this year based on energy, the price of energy. Are you relatively positive that trade will continue to grow over a 2-year time frame?
The growth of trade, the growth of exports, of German exports in the last year was basically quite flat, I mean, it was not so was not so positive. It was not negative, but it was quite flat. And the expectations of the companies is not very optimistic for the future. You know, it also remains to be a little bit pessimistic about that. So probably we are not going to see much more increase of that. Due to a lot of reasons. I mean, there's, as we mentioned, that there's a lot of stress in the system with regard to the tariff situation, increasing non-tariff challenges, you know, also taking into account regulatory burden in Germany and the European Union, which also is a problem for companies. Export control requirements, which makes it not easy for them to follow their path. So there are a lot of challenges, and what we see is that for the coming years, there is not a huge optimism about it.
Well, just one more point. Some of these challenges are peculiar to EU and Germany, aren't they? The regulatory burden in particular.
Absolutely, it's a regulatory burden. And I think the problems are understood already in Brussels and in Berlin, but really to make the shift, the change is not so easy. And then, of course, there's a huge potential in the European common market, which is our home market, basically. You know, I mean, for the German companies, around between 50 and 60% is delivered to customers in the neighborhood, in the European neighborhood. And there is more potential to increase that because the common market is not yet finished. It's not yet perfect. There are, especially if you talk about service sector delivery, there can much more be done. Financial market integration, a lot of things can be done more. I think there's a potential, and we should also work on that. With regard to the global picture, I think it's a good sign for the companies that now we are forcing this bilateral free trade agreements. The Mercosur is now coming, India, and now Australia, and more. We will see more of that. That's definitely a good sign, and our companies are having hopes with regard to Mercosur and India, definitely. But maybe it's not a solution. I mean, it's not a short-term thing, you know. I mean, it takes some time. We will see something in the future, but it's not a short-term thing.
We must leave it there. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.